Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning, very warm welcome. Meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, herzlich willkommen und guten Morgen an einem sehr besonderen Tag. Very warm welcome to a very special day, and this is a very special week in the city of Graz, the city of Jochen Rindt. Today we have the Economic Symposium, Automotive and Safety. To start this day, we have a lot of distinguished guests. First of all, I would like to welcome Sir Jacket Stewart. Jochen Rindt for Austria, I don't have to explain, he was kind of our first man on the moon. He put Austria on the motorsport map worldwide with his first Grand Prix 64 in Zeltweg on the racetrack on the airport, with his win in Le Mans 1965, with this incredible season of 1970 winning the World Championship. So basically with Jochen everything started, and all the drivers after him, Niki, Gerhard, they all said it would not have been possible without Jochen. Two racetracks were built in the late 1960s in Styria here and close to Salzburg. So Jochen was the beginning of all this, and the city of Graz has a long history, automotive-wise. Puch, Steyr-Puch in Graz, and later this developed into an enormous industry, giving bread to thousands of people. Today we would like to discuss different topics, and I would like to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, our guests here on stage. Ellen Lohr from Germany. She is now AVL, and she is the only lady ever winning a race in DTM. Ellen, very warm welcome. It's our pleasure to welcome a gentleman who has the greatest collection of Jochen Rindt race cars and who is also the FIA Chairman of the Endurance Commission. Bienvenue, Monsieur Richard Mille. A gentleman who has an enormous good time in motorsport behind him, rally co-driver, Endurance World Championship, Ferrari, and FIA President, Monsieur Jean Todt. Bienvenue. And the gentleman who was one of the closest friends to Jochen and once said, if we did today what we did then, we would go to jail because we were so wild and crazy. Helmut Marko. To start, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you and ask him for his first statement, the head of communications of the city of Graz, Mr. Maximilian Gazelle. Before we start, just a short explanation to all our guests who join us via live stream, via internet. You can choose different languages as well. We have interpreters, so please feel free to choose your language. Mr. Gazelle.
Thank you very much. Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Max Marzelle. I'm head of the Department of Communication of the City of Graz. On behalf of the City of Graz, it's a big honor and pleasure for me to welcome all of you, the High Excellency on the podium, the audience, people on the live stream, especially on behalf of our mayor, Mr. Siegfried Nagel, mayor from Graz, who cannot be with us today. As you know, we had a really eventful election some days ago. This is why he cannot share the time today with us. But I know that he's really happy. He sends us his best greetings, his best wishes. Thanks for participating. For us, for all of us in this project committee, it's a highlight that we are realizing the 50+1 anniversary for Jochen Rindt today. As we kept working on this, on the preparation for this day now for 2 years, we started with talks to Mr. Dr. Marco. Soon we got support from Mr. Jean-François Decaux, from Mr. Richard Mille, and so many others that we started to prepare in 2019. We continued, we realized in 2020 the first event at the Grazer Zentralfriedhof, where we informed about the Jochen Rindt anniversary activities and also displayed for the first time the Jochen Rindt tram, which will play a major role also today. And we already were able there to welcome Dr. Uwe Eisleben, Natascha Rindt, and of course Dr. Helmut Marko. today for us it's the big day when we can realize all that what we tried to do and what we wanted to do. And maybe I take the opportunity just to talk some sentences about why we are doing this for Jochen Rindt, but also for the city of Graz. Jochen Rindt is just a perfect, authentic testimonial for the city of Graz, as first of all, the industry of automotive and mobility is still our key industry. It's the job generator in this region. It's the generator for all the possibilities we do have in the area of research and development, and therefore he's just a perfect ambassador for this topic. Of course, Jochen Rindt is also a perfect ambassador for us as he was a highly successful sportsman. And maybe you know, sports is a really important topic for us in the city of Graz. At the moment, we are celebrating a sports year also. But again, this message is even better to communicate with him on the side. Of course, he was also a really successful businessman with the Jochen Rindt Show, and many other activities. All of you definitely can talk about this much more and much better than I can, but again, it's perfect for us. And then he also his positive attitude to life, you know, all his mindset, his world open mindset, his international friend community. Some of them are here with us today. Yeah, it's also for the city of Graz, for the city of human rights, Graz. Yeah, it's just a great momentum. So we want to use all this, and also to not to talk too much about you know, death and some really sad things that happened, but we want to talk about the international community he was with here, and also, of course, the beautiful wife we are going to have with us, Nina, today, and this whole positive picture he generated from Graz, from Styria, but from all of Austria. That it is not just for some interested people or for some friends an interesting topic, showed us already this huge and massive support we got from so many people. Some are here in the audience now today with us, but also from, as we are able to realize with the Graz Museum, an own exhibition. And already in those few days we had the exhibition on now, the stream of visitors was tremendous, was enormous. Also with today the symposium, it's great that we can highlight economy, but also the scientific community with the Technical University in Graz and the FH Joanneum. We do have two universities that do very much in this field. And of course, the major step is also to have a public square in the future in this new area of Reininghaus, with the name Jochen Rindt, which enables us to have the name Jochen Rindt in the public, as a public square from now to an ongoing period forever in Graz. Therefore, maybe let me end with just being grateful and really so many thanks to all of you for taking your time, to the partners, to friends that came over to celebrate with us this anniversary, and first of all, of course, also to his family members, Nina and Natascha Rindt, Natascha's husband, her daughter, and Jutta and Uwe Eisleben. We are really grateful. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Mr. Maximilian Marzelle, the head of communications of the city of Graz. We also do have, ladies and gentlemen, participants via video, and the first video will be shown right now. I would like to introduce to you Mrs. Christa Zengerer, CEO of AC Styria Automobile Cluster. She has been head of the AC Styria Mobility Cluster since 2018. The cluster currently has around 300 partner companies and is considered an international example of cooperation, science, business, so very important topic for the city of Graz. Mrs. Zengerer.
The mobility cluster AC Styria represents a network of around 320 companies operating in the field of automotive, aerospace and rail systems. The members of the cluster employ around 70,000 people and generate a yearly turnover of 17 billion euros. The key service provided by the cluster, which has been founded in 1995, consists in supporting the member companies throughout the value-added chain. In this respect, the cluster understands itself as a link between industry, research and public institutions. This special mixture makes Styria unique as a mobility region, and you will hardly find any car, any airplane, any train or even any Formula One car without Styrian technology on board. Since more than 100 years, Graz is the center of mobility and strongly connected with one name, Johann Buch. Johann Buch started the production of the first Buch bicycle under the brand name Styria in 1889. In 1906, he started the production of the first car, the Buch Voiturette, in the middle of Graz. And this was for sure the beginning of a long tradition of car making here in Styria. Since then, 29 different models for 9 OEMs and the incredible number of 3.9 million cars have been manufactured in Graz. During a walk through this wonderful museum, you can see a big number of these cars that have been manufactured here in Graz, with probably the most prominent representative, the Mercedes G-Class, which has been designed in Graz and manufactured since 1979. Graz has been a mobility hotspot for more than 100 years and will for sure play a decisive role in the future of mobility.
Mrs. Christa Zengerer, CEO of AC Styria Automobile Cluster. Would anyone would like to add anything to what we heard? Feel free if you have any remarks. Otherwise, I would like to introduce to you also via video the scientific director of the FH Johanneum, Mr. Karl Pfeiffer. He has been the scientific director since September 2009. In addition to research and education in automotive engineering, the FH Johanneum is also home of one of the best Formula student teams in Europe. Every year the team builds a fully functional race car to participate in international competitions. So please hear the statement of Mr. Karl Pfeiffer, the scientific director of the FH Johanneum.
Als Jugendlicher war Jochen Rindt für mich ein Idol. Sie werden fragen, warum? Ja, heute würde man sagen, Jochen Rindt war ein cooler Typ und er stand für technische Innovation. Innovative Fahrzeugtechnik ist der Bereich, wo wir natürlich lehren, forschen und wo es viele praktische Anwendungen an der Fachhochschule Johanneum gibt. Der Höhepunkt dieser Anwendung ist die Konstruktion und der Bau des Boliden durch unsere Studierenden. Diese Studierenden bauen jedes Jahr seit 2003 so einen Boliden und sie sind sehr erfolgreich in einem weltweiten Wettbewerb mit ca. 100 Hochschulen, Universitäten. Unsere Studierenden sind sich aber auch der Umweltproblematik bewusst und der nächste Bolide wird ein elektrischer sein. Zusammenfassend ist dieses Projekt eine Win-Win-Situation für die Sponsoren, die aus der Umgebung von Graz, aber auch aus ganz Österreich und aus Deutschland kommen. Denn diese Sponsoren bekommen gute Ideen von den Studierenden und die Studierenden lernen umgekehrt ihre Arbeitgeber kennen. Und die Arbeitgeber sind sehr glücklich, wenn sie Absolventinnen und Absolventen der FH Johanneum bekommen.
So another very positive and very interesting detail in this community of Styria around Graz. So also the young guys are interested not only in racing but also in environmental questions and of course in questions concerning safety. Any remarks from our guests? Then I would like to draw your attention, ladies and gentlemen, to the lady on my side, Ellen Lohr, Director Motorsport, AVL List, German former racing driver, one of the most famous winning drivers of DTM. Everybody talks about your fantastic win in Hockenheim still today, although it was about 25 or 30 years ago, but it was really a fantastic race in those days. And after, I think, a racing career, more than 30 years, you're still very much involved in motorsport, very much involved in technical details, and I think this new role for AVL List, Director Motorsport, must be a very challenging and a very interesting one for you, Ellen.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Thanks for the invitation. Yes, 30 years of motorsport in different roles, but mainly racing, and I think that tells it all. The virus is in us, not only me. There are others on this stage who have this virus, and we will never stop, never stop. I have something to add. AVL Racing is actually a partner of Joanneum and TU Graz in the Formula Student. Very proud of these students who do an enormous job beside their normal studies. Let me introduce AVL in some brief, short words to you maybe. AVL is quite a big company. Actually, it's the biggest company, independent company in private hands in this engineering simulation area in the automotive industry. We have 11,000 employees worldwide, 45 affiliates, and the company is run by Professor List, who I think everybody knows in Graz knows him. And he's late in his 70s, but I can tell you he's the first in the morning in the company, he's the last to leave the company, and if you want to have an appointment with him, you better go for Saturdays or Sundays, when he's of course in the company as well. So it's an unbelievable person. He's very motivating and motivated still, and now it's challenging times, as we all know. We ship through some problems, and we have big challenges in front of us, and it's like he's so lively in it. It's really impressive. In my mind, I would say Professor List is a racer, because he's actually very competitive and he's very innovative and visionary. And that is what is racing about. And that's why racing exists within the AVL for quite a long time, because we are working in the field of testing, famous for our test beds, engineering, of course, manufacturing at the end of the line as well, and many more. So the whole package we can offer to the industry. And Professor List established the racing within AVL already, I think 25 or 30 years ago, something like that. I never got a correct answer. Everybody is a little bit different when it all started. Meanwhile, we have over 108 to be precise, people working in racing within AVL. And that is something special, because it's a real motorsport department within this big company. And like I said in the beginning, Professor List is more or less involved in everything, and sees racing as what it is, what it was in the very beginning. Yeah, when we talk about innovations, we are on the front row in racing, and nobody could better tell about that than Dr. Marco, who proves this every day in the Formula One, which is, of course, the highest level. We are involved in Formula One, in NASCAR, in MotoGP, everything. So it's a super exciting job. And nevertheless, we have to move forward as well, let's say like that. So all the new topics, the shaping the future of motorsport, or shaping the future of mobility, which is definitely one of the slogans of the company, is a key topic to talk about, to discuss, and to set up our racing within AVL as well. There is a big change in motorsport as well. We have a lot of electrification topics, hybrid topics. We ourselves push also hydrogen combustion, which is falls off a little bit in the public discussion, but it's a topic we have a very close look on. We would have been at the Dakar already, Mr. Todd, with our hydrogen combustion truck engine, but, and that is a little bit of the problem, we need regulations for that. We need regulations for the infrastructure of the new technologies, and so this all takes a bit of time. So technologies are quite there. Technologies are in the process to be there in a very close future, all on a high end, because that is what racing is about. The engineers do it a bit different than in normal industry. I would say they engineer with open visor. They see what are the possibilities, all ideas on the table, even the ideas where we think these are not possible. We put them all on the table and then decide how do we put it into the regulations, which are done by FIA, by our governmental body in racing. And that's a bit of another approach, because we can be more innovative, and we can be the platform for ideas for future mobility topics, because that's exactly the key. We are exchanging a lot now again. AVL racing is exchanging a lot, and I'm pretty sure it's not only in our company, but also in other big companies, because we can, I'm missing the English word, befruchten. We can support each other, let's say like that. And they can support us, we can support them within the company. One of the examples is that we have a brand new battery innovation center opened up in Graz just, I think, 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? Investment of 12 million was made, and we in racing will have a share on that battery innovation center. That means in future we're not only engineering, we build our own racing batteries there as well. To give an example, or hydrogen. We have a hydrogen test bed which needed more or less the same investment, where we can do a lot with racing as well. So it's just fantastic to work in a company which is open, which is innovative, and which has its own racing department, because that's not normal. Also, and that's, I see that you're already trying to put up your microphone.
We have all the time in the world for you.
Oh, okay, then let's start from the beginning. We use motorsport as communicator, of course. I mean, we have the categories we are working in. Very often we can, of course, not talk about anything. But meanwhile, we use things like the BOP for DTM, the balance of performance we do with our software for communication and other topics. And the one or other customer even is open to speak about, to do real cooperations with us, visible cooperations. And actually I brought a little film, maybe there is a time, it's only 30 seconds, to see what things we are doing, because this is also only 3 or 4 weeks ago. We did a remote run on the Spielbergring, because this is also so great. The Spielbergring is so close. We have our own testing facilities with a little racetrack in Gradkorn, in Graz, where we from racing made a big innovation, let's say just a little, not a big innovation, that was a joke. We painted we painted the curbs blue and white, our colors. Yeah, that was not done before, so now we gave it a racing touch, and we do some racing there as well, not racing, but tests there. But we can also use Spielberg for the one or other occasion, and one was a DTM race 3 weeks ago, which happened on the Spielbergring. Maybe we show it. And we did a remote run there with the DTM electric car from Graz, from our driving simulator, 82 kilometers away.
Complete the confirmation. Network is perfectly stable here. Not even one spike. And both things are.
As you can see, the driver was sitting in Graz in the driving simulator and was steering and driving the car driverless on the Red Bull Ring. And quite a good speed, I have to say. We reached like a bit more than maximum than 150 k's. It was live on TV, so we didn't want to go really high to the very maximum, but it was a.
It was very interesting for the people. I was a track speaker there. Nobody believed there would be no driver in the car, and then they opened the door. The car was empty.
Yeah.
People had
exactly,
to be
and
convinced.
many components of others for the future, like good 5G net, everything was playing into it. And we do quite a lot of these things, and so we should not forget it's a good marketing tool, racing as well, at the end of the day. And with using the BIT Battery Innovation Center, using all the facilities of the AVL, especially in Graz, but with all our affiliates we work in the world, racing within the AVL is actually growing, and that's a very good news.
I think one of the biggest problem of AVL Motorsport might be you have customers from different series, but also from the high level of motorsport. So if some guest from the red team leaves, then the next guest from the grey team comes to the front door. They shouldn't meet. So you have to be careful that...
well, it's a world of NDAs in motorsport, of course. So we cannot speak to anybody, anything in one or other thing. We have teams which don't know from each other what they're working on. That is very clear, and it's the base, and it's something Professor List implemented in the whole company, but especially in racing. So that's why I said in the beginning, communication is not so easy. So we have to find some topics we can easily communicate, like working with the DTM, for example. Others we will never hear something about. But yeah, that is the world of motorsport. Again, Dr. Marco can tell you better how tough the competition it is in Formula One, and how important it is that you have partners which are clearly committed to a project.
Thank you very much, Ellen, for these very interesting details about your company and about your work. The gentleman to your side, Monsieur Richard Mill, is entrepreneur and chairman of the FIA Endurance Commission, and also a gentleman with a big heart for motorsports and for music, as we discussed right before this. You're also advancing women in motorsport. We wanted to have Sophia Flörsch here today, but mainly the weather was playing against us. She has to be in Nürnberg at the Norris Ring this evening because of the DTM weekend, the DTM final. But you also had a team competing in Le Mans driven by ladies. Excellent idea, and well, would like to share your ideas and your passion with us.
Yes, so we decided with under the supervision of Jean Todt a few years ago to promote women in motorsport, and of course I am the president of the Endurance Commission, the title that was given by my friend Jean, and I'm very honored to be this president, but we had to fulfill a mission, and one of the mission, we have several, of course, issues in endurance. We had to promote the hypercar concept. We had to promote women in motorsport. At the same time, as we are also speaking about safety, we had to improve the security, because, you know, in endurance, you have a big difference in speed between, for example, the hypercars, the GTs, professional drivers and gentleman drivers. So security and safety is a key point. And we wanted also to show that women in motorsport were totally, could be very reliable, performant. And last year in Le Mans we achieved that, because they finished 9th overall, and they were very, very consistent. Mostly, if we take into consideration that none of the three drivers knew Le Mans, none of them had driven under the rain before, and none of them had driven during the night. So it was very challenging for them, and they have been doing very, very well, and during the whole season. This year in Le Mans, they were a bit unfortunate, because Sophia was pushed by a driver that apparently didn't see a yellow flag, and she couldn't finish the race. But they have been doing very, very well, and you know, I am a big fan, as you said, and I am also a big collector of cars. When I see those cars and the fragility of those cars, and also where the track in period. I mean, Dr. Marco knows that, because he had to interrupt his career because of such an accident with a stone. Sir Jackie Stewart knows that it was really, he brought so many friends in funeral, so motor racing was really dangerous. And today, thanks to all the work that has been done by you and the FIA, motor racing is very, very safe. Still, we have accidents, but there is, of course, always the possibility of an accident. But the security today is just fantastic. The tracks are incredible. The cars are very, very solid. And this is why we felt very at ease to bring women in motorsport in the best possible conditions, and this is something that we are going to carry on. And it's a pity that Sofia is not here today, because we could have discussed many topics about security, and you are going to see in the video that she was very, very lucky to drive in modern times, because this would have happened in the 70s. I am not sure she will be with us to be able to discuss this matter.
So maybe we could start the video concerning Sophia Flörsch. Everybody, of course, who is involved in motorsport knows what we're talking about. Macau. Basically, it was a question of some centimeters, and all the systems worked as they should work.
Yes, absolutely. And again, there is no, we don't have any commission without, at a moment or another, implementing the topics of security. We had one last week where we talked again about security, for example, with cameras on board for the doctors in case of a crash, to be able to imagine what could be, in which condition could be the driver, etc. So we are, everything that we do, security and safety is a key element.
Monsieur Emil, I have to ask you, because the Austrian fans, of course, all remember Jochen and his races and his cars. There are a lot of books and beautiful pictures. You have a very, very nice collection of race cars, of Jochen's cars. So those cars are held together and not somewhere in the world. Great. May you tell us something about this collection?
Yeah. I am a bit compulsive, I'm sorry, but I cannot stop collecting cars. But I know some people that have also nice collection. I have also a few cars that Mr. Mako has driven. I have cars that Sir Jackie Stewart has driven also. So I'm a bit compulsive, but those cars are so interesting in terms of shape, in terms of noise, in terms of motorization, and all the legendary pages that have been written by those fantastic drivers. So for me, it was when I was young, I had posters of all those drivers in my room, and for me it was just to be able to buy those cars. And it's true that I have a few, about 10 cars that were driven in period by Jochen Rindt, yes.
So
and I am happy to have them, because it's kind of, I'd say, mission or duty to show. I'm planning to have a museum, etc. I want to show those beauties to the public, because I don't want to keep them for myself. And they are very, very interesting cars of a very, very interesting period, what we call the golden era of motor racing.
I think one of the most important cars concerning Jochen and concerning Austrian motorsport, the winning car of Monaco 1970.
Yeah, the Lotus
first
49,
of the 5
yes.
wins in the World Championship season.
Yeah, which is exactly as it was in period. I mean, immaculate, no new painting, no
original
renovation.
engine.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's and as I was saying to Sir Jackie, I have a few trucks also. I have the Helf Tyrrell truck, I have the Lotus truck, I have a Marlboro BRM truck. So all this will be displayed in the museum. Yes.
You don't drive the cars?
Yes. A few of them, yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So you could say you own some Rembrandts of motorsport with these cars.
Exact.
Thank you very much for your passion.
Thank you.
Mil. Merci. We've been talking about motorsport, about safety, about development, about the future, and what brings motorsport to the automotive industry. And I think we have a gentleman here who is very much also on the topic of safety and of development, the future of motorsports, the future of our being. Monsieur Jean Todt, FIA President, may I ask you for your kind statement?
Thank you, and thank you first of all for hosting us. I must say it's a quite emotional celebration because 50 plus 1 year, because normally I think this event should have been hosted 1 year back, but because of COVID-19 it has been delayed to this year. And I was saying it's emotional to celebrate a champion like Jochen Rindt, and as you were saying in your introductions, I mean, he was probably a facilitator of introducing Austria in motorsport, and we are in Graz, and I was just thinking, because my friend Helmut is very involved since decades in motorsport, and he has one eye on what is happening in the Silicon Valley in UK. And in Graz, it's a kind of Silicon Valley as well, with having big companies and also big representative of motorsport around the world, and of course with a kind of cherry on the cake, having Red Bull Formula One, which is, I mean, one of the dominating team in Formula One since many years, and also thanks to passion from a very discreet, talented and successful man, which is Dietrich Mateschitz. So, I mean, congratulations for that, and happy to be here with some amazing witness. And I see in the front row my friend Jackie Stewart. And yesterday coming here, I was just looking some figures from statistics. And incidentally, Jackie won Formula One in 69, 71, 73, is that right, Jackie? 69, 71, 71, 73, three titles of Formula One, and Jochen in 1970. And motorsport is dangerous. I would not agree with my other friend Richard when he says that motorsport is not dangerous. Motorsport is dangerous and will remain dangerous. And in a way, we at FIA we have created what is called special commission for serious accidents, and we have a dedicated team. And incidentally, the president of the safety commissions is Patrick Head, well-known, talented engineers also in Formula One, because they have been part of the success of another great team, Williams. And I mean, at the time of Jackie, and I think it will be interesting to hear Jackie on that. I mean, you were starting the season, and you did not know who was going to finish the season. And in fact, the exceptional achievement of Jochen Rindt, he was declared champion, but he did not finish the season because unfortunately he had this crash, which was fatal. And it's something which was not acceptable. And that's why so much effort have been done to make cars safer, to make circuits safer, and to make the equipment safer. And it is true to say that we are in a situation where a lot of improvement has been made, has been made on the cars, on the circuits, and on the equipment. But here we are talking about, I mean, the pinnacle of motorsport, Formula One. But we have a lot of other categories. You know, every weekend you have thousands of people who do practice motorsport. I mean, last example was weekend karting in Italy, where it was 2 drivers who were severely injured. You know, so you have, and it's something we do monitor each single, and we did a lot of progress because every weekend you have race on the roads, on circuits which are not homologated. Sometimes we have also wild racing. So there is still a lot to be done to achieve what we want. But still, I think we have to consider motor racing as a laboratory. Because then, you were talking about my passion. I've been honored to be appointed by the UN Secretary General as his special envoy for road safety around the world. And every year you have 1.4 million people who die on the road. It's number one cause of mortality for youth between 5 to 29 years old age. You have between 30 to 50 million people who are injured with disability. So, and we have a prescription, and here there is a link between what motorsport can bring to the road. And motorsport has to be a laboratory. And we have the prescription. And in a way, we have been using these prescriptions to improve the safety in motor racing. It's around education. Education is essential. And unfortunately, a lot of road users, and I was mentioning 1.4 million, incidentally, 92% of the accidents are occurring in the developing world. And it's an amazing discrepancy, because you were talking a bit earlier about autonomous car. But 92% of the victims are occurring in the developing world, where they may expect to have electronic stability control, which is a kind of revolutions in electronic safety coming from Formula One, incidentally. They will have that in about 30 years. So we must realize, and in a way, here in this room, we are all fortunate because we are in the developed world. We're in the good side of the world. But you have the world behind, which is 30 to 40 years behind. And there is no education. And education is essential in motor racing and on the road. Then you have what you call law enforcement. And in Austria, there is a strong law enforcement. In France, in Switzerland. But if you are in Nigeria, if you are in Nepal, if you are in China, there is no law enforcement because one of the main reasons is corruption. So law enforcement is essential. And I will give you an example. Motor racing. And it is true that on the road, speed is killing. That's why you need to be very careful. But on racing, it's control. And if, for example, a Formula One driver, is exceeding the speed in the pit lane, which is 80 kilometers an hour, and if during the race he's going 82, he will get between 5 to 10 second penalty. So he's going to lose the race because he has been exceeding by 2 kilometers. So can you imagine, the important law enforcement, and I speak with Helmut, his drivers and all the drivers, are severely controlled to racing, which is not the case on what is happening on the road. Then another topic is, of course, the cars, and I was mentioning about the cars. So amazing progress have been done. And we had breakfast earlier with Helmut, and he was saying to me, but I will let him talk about that. He was telling me I was against the halo, but we were right to implement the halo. And every single parameter we can implement, which is going to be a facilitator for safety, has to be done. So the cars are absolutely essential, or motorbikes. Then road infrastructure. So if we think about all the progress which have been done in circuits over the last 50 years, we need to be able to achieve the same progress on normal roads around the world, but you can imagine what it is. So again, if you take Austria, the work has been mainly done. But when you see what needs to be done in the developing world to achieve what needs to be achieved, it's like thinking the kind of mountain you have to climb. And last but not least, and we saw that here, is post-crash care. And in motor racing, I mean, the intervention is almost immediate in circuit racing, not in rallying. But in rallying, it has improved quite a lot. And it is essential. Between the moment there is the accident until the moment you are rescued and you are in a place when you can be cured. And unfortunately, what is happening on the road is completely different. And you have a lot of people who lose their life because they don't have access to proper treatment in a proper time. So that's the fight in which we are. It's still a long way to go. But I mean, fortunately, road safety is part of the Sustainable Development Goal. And the challenge is by 2030 to halve the number of victims around the world. Also, to give access to public transportation, because, again, for us, public transportation, and it's something which we feel natural, but unfortunately, in the developing world, there is no access to public transportation. That's why we end up very often by having a motorbike, 20, 30 years old age, with 3-4 people on the motorbike. Most of the time, they don't have helmet. The privileged who have helmet, most of the time, the helmets are not with a proper standard. So it's like a glass, they break. And incidentally, we have just developed between the people who are involved in developing racing helmets, we have developed a low-cost UN standard helmets for below $20. And so it can be a game changer, and we're working on implementing this helmet, distributing this helmet all over the world with helmet producers who are the same, who are involved in producing racing helmets. And again, if you take the helmet Jackie or Jochen were using 50 years ago and the helmet they are using now, I mean, it shows, I mean, all what has been done over the last decades. And I mean, to conclude, I mean, mobility is quite young. It's just over 100 years. And you were talking about car collection, about the car, Richard and some others. I mean, maybe the happy owners of those cars. But if you take a car about when motor car industry initiated, it's just over 100 years ago. And you have to see every 10 years, I mean, the difference. And now we're in a period where it's a kind of a revolution because of new energy, because of climate change. So we're working on electric car, on hybrid car, on green fuel, on hydrogen, and we use motor racing as a revolution. Incidentally, 7 years ago, we initiated a Formula E championship. Electric cars, and I mean, everybody was thinking, why? But now everybody is talking about electric cars. So I think it is very important when you have some responsibility to have a vision of what is needed to be addressed in the modern times, and that the challenge, and that's also the fascination and the interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very interesting statement, Monsieur Todd. May I just ask you about your sporting career? Before being very successful on top of the Peugeot Talbot team, on top of the Ferrari team with Mikey, top of the FIA, your sporting career as a rally co-driver. You've been driving quite close to the city of Graz in those days of the Alpenfahrt, the famous rally on Austrian gravel roads, up and down and through the forests. Do you remember a little bit of those days?
I mean, I had passion for motor racing since I was a young boy, and I had some heroes. In fact, my hero at the time was, and Jackie knows that, was Jim Clark. Mm-hmm. And he was the kind of my example in motor racing. And also, he died, I think, 72. He died
68.
68.
Yeah.
He died in 68 in a Formula 2 race.
In Hockenheim in the rain.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you first realized something about Jochen? Maybe in 60.
He was also one of my hero,
Mm.
you know, and in a way, you know what made me a hero? I mean, it was his style of driving, which is not possible anymore. Because at the time, you know, I mean, it was fascinating to see those cars at those speed, completely sliding, oversteering, you know, and now if you're oversteering, then you lose time. You know,
Then
so,
Dr. Marco is on your...
You need to keep the line. So that was, again, a change, the size of the tires, I mean, all the electronic on board. But anyway, I started as a radical driver, and my dream was to be a driver. And, I mean, during this period, I changed that, and my dream became to become head of a racing team. And talking about being a co-driver, true, I've been driving, I think, with 20 drivers, with 14 or 15 teams, and among them was Achim Warmbold, a German driver with BMW, and we participated to Alpenfahrt Rally, and I think in 73, which was quite a lot of controversy, because we were leading the race, and then it was some incident on the road where we lost the lead, but finally, I mean, after having been heard by FIA at the time, and I mean, I was never expect that I could become the president of the FIA a few decades after, we were reclassified first. So that was a controversial Alpenfahrt Rally in Austria, and I think it was around the region, but it was also the Olympia Rally for the Olympic Games, which was organized not so far from here. And in 81, I was appointed as head of motorsport for Peugeot, which was a new position, and we produced a car which was quite a winning car. And, in fact, our biggest opposition was coming also from the region, because it was the Audi Quattro, and the lead driver was Walter Earl, and we went through a dominant position in 85, 86. Then we went to cross-country rally with the Dakar, which we did 5 times, and we won 5 times, before going to sports car championship, Le Mans, 92, 93, 91, 2, 3. We won 92, 93. And then I was appointed as running Formula One with Ferrari, and I ended as the CEO of Ferrari. And after that, I was appointed president of the FIA, which I will incidentally end this mandate at the end of the year. And I will focus on other matters, including my role at the UN.
But anyway, thank you very much for what you did for motorsport over the years. Thank you very much, Monsieur Jean-Todt. Well, and we were talking, ladies and gentlemen, about Jochen and Graz, and why we are here today. Well, Jochen came to Graz as a little boy, 2 years old, lost his parents in Hamburg in one of these terrible firestorms, and basically he was a Graz boy, you could say. And obviously just around the corner was another one who was, well, quite happy to have some fun. And this was Helmut, the best friend of Jochen. Helmut, please share some of those thoughts, some of those days with us. What happened around the houses of Graz in these young, wild days?
It's difficult to say. The president next to me, and he's also in charge of road safety. So what we did was the exact opposite. We only did what was forbidden, what was fast and was dangerous.
And made a lot of fun.
Of course, we had a lot of fun and a lot of passion. Fortunately, we moved it forward into racing, so Graz became safe. But let's come to the serious part of it. It's the accident of Jochen, Monza, 1970. The speed was around 300 kilometers. the reason of the accident was a technical failure. And then compared with Verstappen's accident in Silverstone, speed also around 300 kilometers. The only difference, the reason for the accident was a collision. Jochen, fatal end, he was killed. Max didn't jump out of the car, but got out of the car, had a sore neck, that's all. And that shows the development which was done on safety in motor racing. And I have to say, starting with personalities like Sir Jackie Stewart, I remember he had the balls to boycott together with Jochen the Nürburgring, one of the most famous races in the calendar. He was the one who pushed for a medical hospital, Grand Prix Drivers Medical Hospital, together with BIM, I think you did it. So it was always personalities, and it came up, now we come to the nowadays with Jean Dott, who introduced the halo. I was with quite a few other people against it. I was wrong.
Just in case somebody doesn't know, the halo is the system above the head of the car in Formula One, above the head of the driver, which saved some lives. We saw in Monza with Hamilton.
So this development was possible because of individual personalities and, of course, a lot of research going into reasons and how we can improve it. Fortunately, we have that, and as it was told in the beginning of the season, you know, in the 70s, in the 60s, you didn't know if you would finish the season. So, but I want to go to another part because safety is really in a good shape, and nowadays I can't remember in the last couple of years of a serious accidents or serious injuries. We at Red Bull, as Alan mentioned, we are building up an engine department. We have 4 companies. One is Red Bull Racing, one is Red Bull Advanced Technology, Red Bull Technology, and Red Bull Powertrains. We bought all our technical equipment, mainly Prüfstände. What's Prüfstände? It's
testing rig.
Yeah, okay. Testing belts. Yeah. All of them came of Graz. They are state of the art. They are expensive, very expensive, but there's no way around it. And saying that, having 4 companies and coming a cost cap now, we were forced to reduce people. And before letting them off, we are looking for different possibilities to employ that. So at the moment, we are working on projects like an autonomous Formula One car. We are working for a prototype for a hydrogen car. The problem with the hydrogen car is the storage of the hydrogen, because you need a very strong tank, and that brings a lot of extra weight into it. We are working on a submarine, we are working on a special bicycle, and we are working on some other projects which we are paid by companies outside of motor racing. And what I want to say is the technical brilliance, all the know-how we have, the experience with material and so on, is used to go in different areas, not only in motor business, but also, as I said, for a submarine, for example. And I think that didn't come out really here, that a lot what is going on in motor racing has influence on the normal road cars, of course with a delay of a couple of years, and of course in a different form, because what we are doing in racing is just extreme, is expensive, and has to happen immediately. But generally, motor racing is not only a fascinating, passionate sport, it's also something which does help to improve in various areas, general, the motor industry. Coming back, I think when it was mentioned what happened in Graz as an automotive city, The lady forgot to mention that Mr. Tesla was on our university for a very short period, not as a student, but as a professor. It just shows that our technical university has a very big name. And now I have to say, as a hotelier, there is no company, automotive company in the world who is not coming to AVL. Is that allowed to say? Because they are very critical always.
And I have to say, always when I'm in Graz, I'm in one of your hotels.
I wasn't talking about you, I was talking about the technical engineers and the development and so, but it's also good that you are one of our hotels, thank you. No, but it shows, and that also is in connection with AVL, it's in connection with Banker, who is one of the most, they deliver every Formula One team with components and so on. It's Males, the pistons, but also the university for the normal business is heavily involved. And that makes it, together with our 60,000 students we have here, an innovative city, and it creates value, it creates technical intelligence, and I think that in the end also one part of what we are doing in Formula One racing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helmut. Maybe one last word, Helmut. This afternoon we will inaugurate the Jochen Rindt Platz, the Jochen Rindt Square, I think more than 50 years after his fantastic Formula One season. It was about time that Graz did something like that. It's very beautiful.
It's unbelievable. It's 51 years now that Jochen was killed, and if you go to his grave, there are always fresh flowers, there are always candlelights. So I don't know I can't remember any other sports personality who is so strong in the memory of the people, of the population.
And it's very fitting that we have this meeting and this day today, 7th of October, because in 1970 we all know that Jochen became world champion posthumously. And it really happened on the 4th of October, was the Grand Prix in Watkins Glen, United States Grand Prix. Winning driver was Emerson Fittipaldi in the Lotus, the successor to Jochen, and his win secured the title for Jochen on the 4th of October 1970. And I will never forget, there is a picture when the celebrations after the race took place, there was somebody in the audience standing, holding something up in the air, and that said, Jochen lives. So, thank you very much for joining us today. Ellen, Monsieur Mill, Monsieur Todt, Monsieur Marco. And we do have something special from the city of Graz for the lady. Thank you very much also to our guests via video, Mrs. Christa Zengerer and Karl Pfeiffer.
Thank you so much for coming.
Some flowers of Graz, as it should be. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. It was very interesting, and I think we will have a very nice day with all those programs we still will see in the afternoon, especially the inauguration of the Jochen Rindt Place, and there's of course the tram, the streetcar, which is named after Jochen and which is rotating in Graz for more than 1 year now, I think. And we have some more topics, and really looking forward to that. Thank you very much for joining us here in Graz for this economic symposium for mobility and safety. Thank you.